It's been a while, but there is some more information, important information, that you should know. I mean, technically, in Russia, it's old information. We've been saying this over and over and over and over again, but no one in the West was listening, because Russian propaganda. Well, let me introduce to you Amnesty International. Are you going to call them Russian propaganda? You want to know their raison d'etre? Amnesty International is an international non-governmental organization focused on human rights with its headquarters in the United Kingdom. Not Russia. Not Russian. Nope. Amnesty International released a report that the coke-filled president of Ukraine didn't like. Not one bit. In fact, I'm pretty sure his reaction was, "Fuck! Fuck! 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 Fuck!" And he cried back with, "It cannot be tolerated." Really? Looks like someone's having trouble hiding the truth which has been in plain sight. Really? It was really obvious. Even his advisor made it quite clear in an interview where he said that they wouldn't evacuate their own citizens because then they would have to run them over or gun them down.
Тому не можна було оголосити Україні, що Росія точно нападає, коли ми вже знали, що нападає. Тому що почалось би масовий вихід біженців, масований. І вони б забили всі дороги. Це було 8, 10, 12 мільйонів людей. І армія би не прийшла в райони оборони. Понімаєш, да? Це повний параліч доріг. В цьому випадку це дуже бажана ситуація для російського воєнного керівництва. І в цій ситуації ми, напевно, програвали війну і лівобережжя все. Тому що з лівого берега пішли б на правий, 50 мостів всього в Україні. Було б забито все. В жодним чином ми не впоралися з цією ситуацією. Єдиний вихід – танками давити власних громадян, розстрілювати, щоб пройти через мости.
They basically turned their own population into human shields. And there are hundreds of videos where regular citizens of Ukraine have been saying exactly this, that their own army turned them into human shields. The head of Amnesty International in Ukraine, Pakalchuk, even resigned over this report, stating that the organization's employees in Ukraine had pushed Amnesty International to allow the Ukrainian Defense Ministry to respond to the report's findings before it was published, but that the organization gave Ukrainian officials very little time to respond. Wow, good job Amnesty for not caving into the request by the Ministry of Truth to clearly whitewash the document before publicating it.
One eternity later.
Ukrainian fighting tactics endanger civilians. Oh! I guess they finally woke up. Why don't we have a wee look to see what the fuss is about? Ukrainian forces have put civilians in harm's way by establishing bases and operating weapons systems in populated residential areas, including in schools and hospitals, as they repelled the Russian invasion that began in February, Amnesty International said today. Really? Such tactics violate international humanitarian law and they endanger civilians as they turn civilian objects into military targets. The ensuing Russian strikes in the populated areas have killed civilians and destroyed civilian infrastructure. Who could have thought that placing artillery and other military equipment on children's playgrounds next to residential buildings full of civilians would result in innocent deaths? We have documented a pattern of forces putting civilians at risk and violating the laws of war where they operate in populated areas, said Agnes Kalamar, Amnesty International's Secretary General. A pattern? Were they trained to do so? Aren't they supposed to protect their own citizens? I guess not! But they protected their own citizens in Crimea by blocking the natural flow of water and shutting off their electricity. Being in a defensive position does not exempt the military from respecting international humanitarian law. Launching strikes from populated civilian areas, military bases in hospitals, military bases in schools. No, Amnesty, how dare you publish the truth?
Off with his head! But wait! There's more!
Shells hit a high-voltage power line at the Zaporozhye plant, prompting operators to disconnect a reactor despite no radioactive leaks being detected. The plant was captured by Russian forces in early March in the opening stage of the war, but it's still run by Ukrainian technicians. That government has absolutely no regard for human life, at all. And now, from the Ministry of Truth, Ukrainian President Vladimir Zelensky said that Moscow was responsible and accused it of committing an open, brazen act of terror, calling for sanctions on the entire Russian nuclear industry. So let me get this straight. The plant was captured in March by Russian forces, and Russia is shelling its own positions in a nuclear plant? Okay, to do what exactly? Give Ukraine another reason for a huge PR campaign to ask for more weapons? Wait, here's another idea. Maybe, just maybe, it has something to do with the referendum that Zaporozhye is about to hold to join Russia.
Друзья мои, сейчас в вашем присутствии я подписываю распоряжение Центральной избирательной комиссии Запорожской области о начале и подготовке проведения референдума по воссоединению Запорожской области с Российской Федерацией.
Yep, that's right. Zaporozhye is about to vote to join. You know, vote. Something Kosovo didn't do, and yet it was still supported by the West. So why don't we put our thinking hats on? Theory number one, Russia is shelling its own troops in the Zaporozhye nuclear power plant that Russia has controlled since March, right when Zaporozhye is about to hold a referendum to join Russia. Or maybe, just maybe, here's a crazy thought in theory number two, the government that has been using its own citizens as human shields is shelling a nuclear power plant that its troops don't hold to prevent a referendum to join Russia from being held. Not taking into consideration that a nuclear disaster would be bad for literally everybody. But you may be thinking, well, Russia is to blame. Russia is responsible. This should have been solved in another way. I mean, hindsight is 2020. Bonjour les Minsk agreements, which Ukraine failed to implement. It's a fact. Look it up. Oh, and also probably shouldn't have supported a government coup in 2014.
What the hell is wrong with you people?
Ooh, yeah.
People of Ukraine, this is your moment.
Народи український, це ваш момент.
This is about you, no one else.
Це про вас.
This is about the future you want for your country. This is about the future you deserve.
Are you sure about that?
Це про ваше майбутнє, про майбутнє вашої країни. Це про майбутнє, на яке ви заслуговуєте.
A future in Europe.
Майбутнє Європи.
A future of peace. Good
Майбутнє миру.
relations with all of your neighbors.
Майбутнє всіх ваших сусідів.
С вероятностью 99,9% наша цена за вступление в НАТО – это большая война с Россией.
Чего не смеетесь-то? Не смешно? Не поняли, да?
So, my dear Europeans,
My fellow Americans,
now look what you have. Millions of people displaced, increased inflation, increased gas prices, food prices, petrol prices, the decline in your standard of living. I mean, in some European countries, the governments are saying you have to ration showering, for Christ's sakes. And your businesses are leaving Russia, and our Russian investors are just gobbling them up, meaning that production is coming home. And worst of all, tens of thousands of innocent Ukrainian lives are lost. So I'm going to ask you, I mean, has it all been worth it? Has radicalizing from at least 2014 been worth it? You know, when they had their government coup. Has the weaponry that your countries flood into Ukraine, which actually prolonged the conflict, has that been worth it? No. But you know, when Russians were being killed in eastern Ukraine by Kiev, you didn't care. Maybe because your news media didn't tell you to care, or maybe because you had food in your stomachs and heat in your homes. And for now, you still do. But
winter is coming.
except in Zaporozhye, because they'll have heat from Russia.